Big bass on it. Welcome to the Spectra Ocean Dream Circuit. Racers, start your engines.
All right, my friends, welcome. Just gonna settle in here for a second. Let me get a little sound check Reno. Can you guys hear me clearly before we get going with the Apparinos? All right, we'll be sound check. All right, nice. Welcome everybody. So we'll get started here in a second. Just gonna check in with chat. See the usual suspects. Welcome everybody. I haven't done my like shield in a while, so we'll start off with that. If you guys could press like, it really does help us out a lot with this channel. Lear and myself put a lot of effort into all this stuff, and we, you know, when I say we, I say things, and then we play music we shouldn't all the time. So the algo doesn't like us. So we need you to press like to override the algo. We're gonna take over YouTube whether YouTube wants us or not. Simple as that. Okay, shout out to Woo for sponsoring my stream. It's obviously super cool to have a legitimate brand that wants to support my stuff, so obviously pretty proud of that. So shout out to them. I don't do a good enough job of promoting the people that I work with, so I need to do that more. All right. Uh-oh. Not the squeaky toy. That's the other warning. I have a 16-week-old puppy, and it's a roll of the dice whether he's going to sleep in the other room or be really loud. So if you hear squeaker toys, it just is what it is. I'm not interested in taking them away from him for you guys. Anyways, yeah, quick puppy news. I know at least a couple of you guys like that. Things are good. I'm feeling very blessed with having gotten a good boy. He is good with people. Anytime I introduce him to a friend or a family member or even another dog, he's social and wants to be friends with everybody. He is very affectionate and all that stuff, and when he's hyper, he wants to play. So it's been really fun being a little, dog dad and taking him to the park and walks and everything every day and all the training and stuff. I've got him trained so he knows like 7 or 8 normal commands now. I think I'm at 8. Anyways. If you guys are interested in that, maybe I could upload a video or something. I want to get a video of him at the park. Thing is I'm not one of those cringe guys that walks around with their phone out all the time. I just live in the moment and enjoy him having fun rather than trying to pull my phone out and record it for you guys. But part of me wants to get a couple of good videos going. So anyways, let me go ahead and lock in. There was one question that let me come back to that question, see if it was worth going over. Can you talk about how you review your trades? How you determine if your analysis was bad or if the trade just didn't work? It's not okay. How do I answer a question like that? How do you determine if the analysis was bad or if the trade just didn't work? Honestly, bro, like I know you want like a cool answer, but it's just a fucking coin flip, right? There's been plenty of instances, and I've talked about this a lot over the years. There's been plenty of instances where I won a trade that I shouldn't have, or I lost a trade that I should have, or I won a trade that I should win, blah blah blah, right? How many times have you taken I guess not everybody knows necessarily how to grade what a quality setup is, but there's so many times where you take a good setup and then things just happen, right? Trump tweets, or some news comes out, or just things just don't go your way, right? So ultimately, that stuff's kind of a coin flip when you're trying to determine that stuff. I would say that, journaling is probably the answer that you're looking for, right? Use automated API journals to collect all the hard stats and then manually journal your emotional shit. Try to keep it short and concise so that your journaling process is like less than 5 minutes a day. You want to be quick with all that shit, but that's probably the answer to your question. If you're not honestly, if you had trade setups that you're using and you don't really know if they're good or not, then that's probably your starting point. Or you need to make sure that everything you're doing, you're actually confident is legit and will work. Which really only comes by, trial and error, right? You got to test shit to figure out if it works or not. All right, gang. Just going to scroll up. Even if we didn't like the music, yeah, you got to press like. Simple as that. Oh, yeah, by the way, for anybody that tuned in a little bit later, if you're watching the VOD, my bad for the sound being terrible this morning. I didn't make sure that the sound was all set up correctly. I was prioritizing getting the pup ready. All right, I'm just rolling through the chat real quick, and then I'll get into the market outlook, and then from there we'll work our way down. We can look at alts a little bit here and there after we finish up with Bitcoin, and obviously throughout, feel free to ask any questions. I'm not super interested in looking at your dog shit, fucking top 750 market cap coin or whatever, but we'll see. We'll see where we go. I'm the same, but make sure to take photos of him as a pup because they go super quick. Yeah. I'm not one of those guys that like goes to a concert and has my phone out the whole time. Like I'm using my eyeballs the whole time. But I've always been like that. I've always been like against taking photos and videos all the time. But as I've gotten older, I've really started to appreciate that more for the reminiscing fact, right? And since I got the puppy, he already weighs about 95. He's like 1 pound away from being up 100% from when I got him. So he's already changed so much. So yeah, Jed, that's a fantastic point. Puppies, they just change. A month goes by and he's completely different. Okay. It is sometimes the best setup you can take in the market that turns against you, and it's your job to lose a couple. Sometimes I think I should just counter trade myself. I mean, yeah. I probably should be supportive, but the reality is sometimes you're going to be like dead wrong about shit like that. It just is what it is. Do you struggle with seeing your trade through because of impatience? Definitely used to be a huge issue for me back in the day. Nowadays, no. I am one of the most fucking patient people that has ever lived on this earth, probably. I don't care about anything anymore. If I really think that a trade's gonna lose, then I will cut it, right? So it's not like it's not like things aren't moving for me, so I'm just gonna cut it. But I have trading has brought so much patience to every aspect of my life. I can come up with a bunch of examples. I don't know if I really want to share that much stuff, but there's been plenty of instances where I buy things and, they don't come for long periods of time, and people always wonder if I'm like shitting my pants or mad at them, and I don't give a fuck, honestly. Congrats on the pup. What are your top 3 signal/indicators for entering a trade? I mean, Kevin, I could tell you're probably a little bit newer to my channel based off those questions, so I would advise that you go through some of the free educational stuff on the channel. But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick 3, I don't know if I would say signals per se, but like 3 tools would be VWAP, volume profile, and then some form of volume analysis, something like this, right? That will show me either delta or individual buy and sell, some sort of volume. I could get by with just volume profile and VWAP probably if I just traded higher time frame. Okay. What do you think about the fact that the S&P is at resistance and Dixie is at support, but also Bitcoin's at resistance? I mean, I'm not optimistic right now, guys. I'm gonna explain all that in detail when I get to that section. But yeah, I mean, I'm macro very, very bullish. I think that by the time that the year closes out, that Bitcoin will probably be a lot higher than it is now. But in the medium to short term, I'm still risk adverse and risk off right now. So I don't think that you should be getting long right now at 88K. That's pretty foolish, right? I do think that there's cause for concern still. When I get actually locked in and do my market outlook here in a second, I'll explain all that. How do you actually cut losers and let winners run? When I try, I end up cutting or round tripping winners. It's really difficult question to answer, brother. I mean, it's just one of those things where you have a lot of experience and you just kind of feel it or you don't. It's not like there's just something obvious on my screen that tells me to cut it. Sometimes, I cut things that I shouldn't cut and I let things run that I shouldn't. I'm not saying, like, full disclosure, I don't execute those things perfectly because I'm a human being. There's absolutely times when I let runners win and it was the right move, or there's times when I let runners, go and then they round trip, just like you said. There is no real, like, perfect answer for that, right? You just got to get really good at either building out your system or just build up a lot of experience. It's really all the answer is that. It all comes down to experience and just trusting that your gut read on when you're wrong or right is going to be correct, and you got to just deal with when you're wrong, right? When you cut what would be a winner and it turns in, you cut it and it turns into a massive winner, you just got to say fuck it and move on to the next one, right? There's probably a few more things I could add to that, but my brain's not really running in high capacity right now. I mean, one more thing I want to add to that specific conversation is around, like, what style of trading you're using, right? So with specific styles, you should be more okay with round tripping versus not, for example. So basically, if we were to take a spectrum from the lowest time frame to the highest time frame, right? This is going to be like tick scalper, high frequency guys to like positional high, high time frame swing traders, right? So from this spectrum, basically, the further to the right you are, the more you need to be okay with round trips, and the further to the left you are, the more you need to fight the round trip, right? So if you're a lower time frame trader, you cannot allow yourself to be a round tripper, right? You will die the death of 1,000 paper cuts, right? Because you're going to have your losses, and then your wins are going to be losses too, right? So with lower time frame stuff, lock in the profit, right? With higher time frame stuff, that's where you got to put your balls on the line more and say, I don't really know what's going to happen over the next 3 months, but I am going to gamble on up or down, right? And you have that conviction, you fucking send it. It's really important, though, with a conversation like that, you think about where you're at within, like, what style of trading, right? Because round tripping for higher time frame is inevitable, right? But that's just part of the variance, like, trade-off, right? If with higher time frame stuff, I risk much more of a higher probability of a round trip, but that's offset by my wins being so much bigger, right? With higher time frame stuff, if I am, I'm sending it and it works, that's going to be a big win for me compared to a lower time frame trade that's going to be a small win, right? So with how you handle round trips or cutting too early or stuff, definitely think about what style of trading you're doing. I think that's a good question, though. Hopefully you guys find that topic to be useful. Are you thinking for lower time frame? Don't worry, brother. I'll go over that in a second. Good morning, Magus. I'm also risk off right now. Good morning to the sideliners. I will buy back lower. I'm not sidelined like I don't own spot, guys. I still own every single Bitcoin that I had from the beginning of the cycle. My highest Bitcoin buy is the cycle. Actually, I take that back. When I originally built the bag, my highest Bitcoin buy was 25K, but I actually did buy a little bit of Bitcoin at 98K not that long ago. But the point I'm trying to arrive at is I have full spot allocation. I'm just hedged on it. I don't want to stay hedged too much longer though. If you had 20 million port, how much would you expose to crypto, and what size trade would you take on good setups? That maybe can be an informative question. It's probably going to not be what you guys think. You guys would think, oh, you have $20 million, so you probably need to go trade $10 million positions, but I wouldn't do that at 20 mil. I'm not at 20 mil, full disclosure. Maybe a few more years and I'll get there, but so yeah, so if I had 20 mil, how I would trade that would be I would probably put more than half of it in the boomer market. So I'd probably have at least 10 mil just riding US equities. And then I would probably have about a quarter of it. So I have 50% remaining. So a quarter of the total left over would probably be spot long. Actually, probably more than that. I probably do, out of the remaining 50%, I would probably do, I don't know. I would want to do more than 5 mil spot long Bitcoin, but basically spot long Bitcoin, and then the remainder would be active trading. So I would active trade with 2 mil, 3 mil, something like that. And then have, I would break that if it's 3 mil too, I would break that up so that it's like 2.5 for higher time frame stuff, and then like a mil or a half a mil for active lower time frame trading. With active lower time frame trading, you can, that's the only area where I would really be using leverage too. So that's part of the reason why I would use less capital for active trading, because I could just go and use like slight leverage, go and use 2, 3, 4x leverage and get to that size I want to get to. 2 mil on 20x, 100%. I mean, yeah, guy's spitting. Like the stream. Thank you, Fernando. Socrates taught no round tripping is allowed. Does bring delight. We're just going to turn all of our trading lessons into Socrates quotes. All my buys are sub 30K. I sold some mid 80s before 100K, only 20%, looking to buy lower and then sell higher. Yeah, good for you, brother. Does 4% of the perp account are on trade and 2% total capital sound good? Not sure what you're asking. Does 4% of perps account? If you're saying you're making 4% but risking 0.2 for perps intraday, give me a little more podcast. Give me a little more detail as to what you're asking. How do you see market structure? Sometimes you have obvious downtrend and then I look for shorts. That's a great question, guys. So all of technical analysis is a meme unless used through the lens of the, thinker, basically. So market structure, don't get me wrong, I care about market structure to some extent, but I mostly care about market structure when we're talking about lower time frame. That's normally I'm reading structure on lower time frame to actually read strength or weakness, right? Higher time frame, it's definitely a meme, right? And we talked about this a lot, here, and we're even, definitely looks like we're replicating what we did last year, right? Where a lot of people, I stayed, I was bullish here, I was bullish here, I was bullish here, I was bullish here, I was bullish the entire point, right? Saying that we'd trade higher. But a lot of people will get stuck in these kind of moments where you say, okay, this is the first point of negativity, right? Where you fail to make a higher high, and then you make a lower low, and then a lower high, and then a lower low, right? I understand, right? This is bearish, right? That's the textbooks would tell you, don't be long on this. But experience has taught me that this whole higher lows and blah, 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 it doesn't really matter a lot of times with Bitcoin, right? What matters is, who's buying, who's selling, and what's momentum look like, right? So I think that if you guys are simply like saying, it's bearish market structure, it's bullish, right? If you're shorting in this, right? I think that's something you should account for. Always respect the macro trend above all, but really, I'm cautious to say this because I know a lot of you guys are going to fuck this up, but think about the sentiment argument around this stuff too, right? With what was sentiment like during this stage, right? So market structure shouldn't be an end all be all where it's like, okay, this is bullish structure, so it's bullish. You need to think bullish structure and then what's happening with sentiment, what's happening with news, right? In this moment where our structure was pretty bearish, we were holding up in the macro trend in the face of enormous amounts of selling. I don't know if everybody that's in the chat here was around back then, but we had a lot of Bitcoin getting sold off. And, basically you just had people saying, okay, I'll buy that Bitcoin from you, So, TLDR, our magic lines, our market structure, our triangles, whatever the fuck we draw on our charts, they're pretty retarded a lot of the times. People don't really want to hear that because it takes away from the perceived simplicity of trading, right? People think that, oh, I draw a line on my chart, I got risk to reward tool on the chart, I'm going to make money. But it doesn't work that way, obviously. That's a good question, Jake. I could yap about the market structure meme for ages, but we'll digress. For low time frame scalping, the fees are rough for small moves since I don't trade size. Well, there's something really wrong with your statement there, because the only reason why trading size would be a benefit for you for fees is because more volume equals reduced fees on your exchange. However, more size makes it more difficult to execute. So actually having less capital would make it easier for you to navigate, right? Because you can get in and out without moving price around. And if you're not doing a lot of monthly volume, you're not going to drop your fee bracket down that much anyways. So for low time frame scalping, the fees are rough for small moves since I don't trade size. Yeah, brother, you actually need to take a step back and realize that that's an advantage for you. That's why, like, when I've gone through my big scalping stages, the last time I went really, really hard in the paint scalping was 2023, so it's been a while. But people were really surprised when I would tell them what my position size would be, as somebody who has money, and I would trade, $50,000 positions, and even a lot of times for less liquid coins, even less than that. And people don't realize that with small capital as scalping, you can actually produce a lot of income off of a smaller stack, versus higher time frame stuff requires more capital. I said capital. Jesus. Hopefully that makes sense. If there's any confusion around that conversation, just hit me with questions. I think I explained it properly, though. I'm 30% cash, 30% equities, 30% Bitcoin right now. That's probably pretty decent, I guess. Are you still in Sol? Yeah, I still own Solana. I don't have as much Solana as I once did, but it's still my second biggest bag behind Bitcoin. Taking photos, daughter's almost 5 years old, or 5 months old. That's crazy, man. I remember when you shared that news in the Paragon. It's crazy that it's been almost 5 months already, man. Congrats, dude. How do you personally deal with the fact that it's crazy? You guys are going so hard with the Q&A. I'm just going to do a whole stream of Q&A at this point. I'm not even going to share my market outlook. I think at the end I'll squeeze it in. I know that some of you guys care about that. If you really care about the market outlook too, there's a 6-minute video on my channel I posted yesterday you can watch. How do you personally deal with the fact that you would have higher P&L if you simply held instead of adjusted a position? I simply say I don't care, right? There's going to be, the longer you trade, the more you're going to run into instances where you could have made stupid money if you traded that better. I can't even tell you guys how many, I've had multiple opportunities where I could have made like intergalactic wealth off of one coin. Aave, for example. I bought up Aave in the Pico bear market in 2018. I bought up a good size position on Aave. Aave back then wasn't even Aave. It was called Etherland. I sold my Aave position because it went up 55% in like a week. Thought I was a genius. I don't remember what my P&L was on that or anything. I was really happy in the moment. This is a long time ago. I was really happy in the moment. I probably could have made $100 million if I had just held that trade. And that's not even that much of an exaggeration. Probably wasn't quite 100 mil. It would probably have been less, but still, it would have been tens and tens of millions of dollars off of just Aave. I have so many coins like that. I did the same thing with Link. I bought Chainlink. My average Chainlink buy was 43 cents. I think I had 35,000 tokens, which for me back then in 2019, that was a lot of money for me. I sold my Chainlink when it went to $5. Chainlink went to $50, right? This is just, if you guys are listening and you have issues with that shit, what we're talking about right now, it really is as simple as you just say, I don't fucking care anymore. All right? Are you doing good over the course of, the larger period, right? Are you making money? I don't sit there and cry about the fact that I didn't make $30 million this cycle, right? I don't care that I didn't make like a generational wealth trade. I still made money. So the longer you trade, the more desensitized you will be to your mistakes. You will just accept that you trade. A lot of traders fail because they go into it with the expectation that they're going to execute perfectly. And you should actually go into trading with the expectation that a lot of your trades will have mistakes and you can still make money even though you make mistakes. But if you go in expecting every buy and sell is going to be nice and clean, you're going to be really, really let down by yourself when you experience the opposite, which is most of your buys and sells, even when you're making money, will not be that clean. Okay? I could yap about that a lot, but we'll digress. For sizing, I'm risking 4% of perp account. Okay, for intraday, that's 4%, 0.2 of total capital. That sounds great, man. I actually take way more risk with my perp accounts relative to that because I trade with my active trading is a small percentage of my money nowadays. So I had trouble explaining this in the Paragon, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. It's not that uncommon that I will risk 20%, 15% of my perp account when I take trades because it's such a small percentage of my overall money, right? That's why the moon stuff works. 100%. Cryptoski knows about the moon cycles. Do you use CVD for spotting absorption? Not really, brother. I look at CBD mostly just for seeing who's buying and who's selling, and I break that up per exchange, right? Aggregated CBD is a no-go. Don't aggregate your deltas. You want a quick lesson on why that matters? Every exchange is going to have their own kind of baseline of what volume looks like, right? Baseline volume on Binance is going to be like 5 to 10x higher than what it's going to be on something like Coinbase. So when you aggregate all your deltas together and you don't have any sort of weighting to kind of balance themselves out, you just end up getting extremely distorted moments where one exchange can just fuck CBD up for everybody else, right? Furthermore, CBD has become such a popular tool, because retards like myself taught it to people 5 years ago, so that now CBDs can often be, specifically on perps. I wouldn't say this so much on spots. There's been instances I've seen where perp CBDs are just straight up scams, where I can tell they're just scamming to try to debate people into taking bad trades and run them over. So I'm not a big fan of CBD. I mostly like delta histograms like this, where it's just individual buy and sell volume. It's a good leverage value to trade at perps. Leverage percentage doesn't matter, my friends. It's the simple math equation of if I use X leverage, my position size will be X. And then based off of what my position size is, how much will I lose if I'm wrong on the trade? That's what matters, right? Stop caring about what leverage percentage you use or leverage X you use. I'll start the outlook here in just a second, guys. Less than 2 minutes out from the outlook. What up, James? How do you develop confidence to start swinging size? I have a huge majority in spot because, to be honest, I don't know if I can outperform Bitcoin in a bull. My biggest swing trades in my life have been on spot. So there you go, right? People think that you can't swing trade spot. It's crazy how CT's brains have been cooked into thinking that the best swing trades are going to be on perps or whatever, right? Your worst swing trades will be on perps and your best will be on spot. Guys, everybody listen the fuck up. Start learning to swing trade spot to the upside, right? When it makes sense to be bullish, buy spot and chill. It's literally one of the best strategies. It's crazy. So please trust me when I say that you actually should probably start swinging spot. The psychological impact is less, right? Perps have a much more oppressive psychological impact on you than spot will. And yeah, I mean, yeah, many of my best big swing trades in my life have come from spot. I can't really think of too many. Last year I had a really big swing trade on a derivative with whiff. Outside of that, off the top of my head, I don't think I had any big swing trades last year other than whiff and on perps. And a lot of my big moves were off of spot. I could be wrong on that. Maybe someone in the Paragon that remembers differently. I don't remember all my trades. How do you view absorption without CBD? It's just regular delta, basically, brother. Just regular buy and sell. I just prefer that version. It's just a preference. Can you please show drawing a range before it's fully formed? I keep being able to tell it's a range only after it's gone. Yeah. So with the range shit, guys, first of all, the big thing that's going to help anybody that's struggling with that is accepting the lesson that the majority of price action is ranges. Look at the chart right here, right? If you were to tally up every single candle on the 12 or on the daily chart, every single candle, how many of the candles are in a range and how many of them are in a trend? It's probably something like 75 to 80% of the candles are going to be in the range. So step one is accepting the majority of range, or the majority of price will be ranges, right? That's what the market wants to do. Basic auction market theory is that what the market seeks is a fair value between it being expensive and cheap, right? And price wants to oscillate between those two values. That's what every market ever is seeking. It's seeking balance. And then we only get the imbalance periods when we basically have to reprice the asset in one direction or the other for any multitude of reasons. We'll not get into that. So with specifically to your question, you just got to get good at fucking gauging when momentum dies. This is definitely, I don't yap about this that much, but this has for sure been one of my strongest edges with Bitcoin over the years, is that if you've watched for a long time, you've seen this, where when we're in a range, I will tell you, I probably cannot tell you that we're going to start to trend. But when we're in the trend, I have extreme confidence at telling you, okay, we're going to start to range. Some of the logic you can use is things like measured moves, right? After Bitcoin goes up almost 100%, it probably is going to range, right? Basic logic like that. But really, you need to get good at just eyeballing momentum loss, right? Once we got into this stage, that's when I called this range. I don't remember what my exact high and low was. It was so long ago. But that's basically the argument, right? Once you start to lose momentum, you just draw the range. And maybe sometimes you need to redraw it where your starting point was wrong or whatever. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Really, you need to get comfortable with auction market theory principles, and luckily for you, I have at least 2 videos for free on this YouTube channel relevant to that. What up, Reg? All right, I'm trying to blast through these last questions to get into the outlook part. What win rate do you look for when developing any new ideas? With lower time frame stuff, I really aim to have huge emphasis on having a high win rate. When I'm doing higher frequency stuff, I want to be winning a lot, which basically means the risk to reward on my trades is worse, right? Standard EV argument is all of trading is a trade-off between good risk to reward and good probabilities, and you're almost never going to get both. So I'm the type of trader that chooses to take worse risk to reward and better probabilities, meaning a lot of my discretionary trades will be 1.5R, 2R, right? Where your average person on CT is swinging for 16R. I don't do that. I trade for lower R and higher probabilities. So to answer your question, I probably want to feel confident that I'm going to be winning like 70+% more on lower time frame stuff. Higher time frame stuff, I lose a lot more. But, you know, basically, yeah, higher time frame is going to be more in favor of risk to reward and less probability, because probabilities on higher time frames are a lot harder to understand and predict or guesstimate, whatever. So hopefully that answers your question, right? Does Paragon have lower time frame execution video with tick charts? Yeah, I have a lot of them, brother. In 2023, I was basically like a full-time scalper in Q3 of 2023. So yeah, I think I have 15 scalping educational videos in Paragon. One of them is specifically about tick charts, and then some of them just cover tick charts as part of it, because tick charts are really big for scalping for me. I would basically never want to scalp without a tick chart if I could avoid it. Can you explain volume delta indicators and relative volume? They're both R. They're just different math calculations, brother. It's just slightly different calculations. Relative volume is using a moving average. Most of the time a moving average. I guess there's a couple other ways you could structure it, but it's just smoothing out the data, where volume delta, like the indicator I just showed you guys, is just showing the raw buy and sell, which I think is better than relative volume. Relative volume we used to use on TradingView way back in the day, purely because order flow data on TradingView was ass back then. What do you do when you want to go on a losing streak? I remember I made a big video in the Paragon like a year, maybe 2 years ago now. I can't keep track of it all, because I went on a big losing streak scalping. I lost 13 scalps in a row, and then I showed that. And yeah, I mean, if you're losing a lot, right, you have to just take a step back, right? So take a step back. It really is as simple as, like, if you're losing over and over again, don't keep trying to trade, right? Just fucking, you know, I don't have the pressure to trade. That's a big part of it. So I don't care if I take a week off trading. It doesn't matter to me. So taking time off, going and doing other things, it's the obvious answer. When you're fucking up and you're losing a lot, the goal, right, is just like managing the drawdown, right? Just making the pain as little as possible. I remember making a video on that where I lost those 13 scalps in a row over the course of like 2 days. And I did it to be honest and to show what mistakes look like and stuff, but I also did it to show what your equity curve can look like with those kind of losses, because I didn't really go into that much drawdown. My curve looked like this, where there was like a steady dip from the losses, but it was like this, right? And then I start winning again and it goes right back up again. So, but that was honestly, I don't really know if I could replicate that degree of scalping that I used to do. If I'm being super honest with you guys, maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't actually know, because I haven't tried in a while. But in 2023 Q4, or Q3, excuse me, if you're in the Paragon, you saw this. I basically went into just full up like I was the market. I was like so in sync with things for a minute there. When swinging, what does your win rate look like and your risk to reward? Risk to reward on swings is going to be massive, right? You know, that's where we're going to get into that 10R, 15R realm. With swings, though, I would say my win rate, I don't actually know off the top of my head, but it's low, guys. It's probably like 30, 40%. It's like 40% at best. But the swing stuff, right, is about managing the losses, right? Like, I manage my losses really well. That's one of my key things with the swing trading stuff. Again, it's something I've definitely demonstrated over the years in Paragon, where I'm wrong, but still kind of make a little profit or squeak by without turning it into an enormous loss. Thanks for the answers. Would recommend scalping to get more, or would you recommend scalping to get more trades? I do think it's worth it, guys, for you to go and fuck around with that stuff just to gain experience and learn, you know, what is actually going on with market microstructure and whatnot. It'll help you. It will speed run your psychology test as well, because one of the biggest tests for all of us is how we handle everything mentally. I didn't trade shit in Q3 23 because that meta did not suit me back then, but remember you crushing the DW. Yeah, fucking the scam coins, man. People always, like, people would go on Twitter and cry so much about how, like, it was TRB was the main one. There was a few of them, but TRB was my big printer back then. And we would go on Twitter. This was the run, guys. It did this. It went up a fuck ton. It was very, very scalpable during this period. You go on CT and everybody would be crying about how manipulated this was, and then we were in the Paragon like, let's fucking keep scalping this shit. You know, when people, the DFW or whatever the fuck their name is, DWF, they were doing some sketchy shit, but it's not our responsibility to care. They created a trading environment for us, so we just take advantage of that and don't cry. What led you to giving more weight to volume profile over TPO? Or is it just a case of higher time frame? Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I think that I don't really like higher time frame TPO as much. It works totally. Don't get me wrong. You could, load up a weekly or a monthly TPO and it's fine. But I just prefer volume profile for a higher time frame. And then I mostly use, I'll use this intraday, basically. This is really the only time I'm using TPO is for intraday. I just don't really think that the use case for this is as strong when volume profile just loads up so quickly and essentially gives me the same information. Right, the difference between volume profile and TPO from like a levels standpoint is going to be pretty minimal most of the time. With higher time frame stuff, that's where you're going to notice the most extreme changes, right? With higher time frame, where you have more aggregated data together. Okay, so I finally caught up with chat. I'm going to spitball out some thoughts on higher time frame now. Please, if you have any questions, relative to what we're discussing right now, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Hold on 1 second. I didn't want to dox my chat with Doc by accident. Can't have our love letters being out in public. Okay, so macro. This is going to be really short and sweet, guys. Macro is, there's no dramatic changes for me. Originally, I wanted so badly for Q1 to be bullish, but that didn't materialize. My plan over here was that, zoom in a tiny bit. My plan over here was that if we lost 102K, that I was going to go risk off. And the way that played out, it was pretty fucking insane how it would be right here, right? So you can't really see this on this higher time frame chart, right? But basically you got a perfect retest where you bounced around to support, lost the support, retested it as resistance, and then broke down. So that's when I officially went risk off. I actually did some pretty stupid shit where I went risk on and then risk off again. So this is where I'm officially hedged from, is from this candle. I have the utmost confidence that we're going to trade higher, and I don't want to stay in this hedge too much longer. My thought is really simple, guys, that, let's zoom back out a little bit. You probably need to be in survival mode for about 3 more months, 4 more months, something like that. And then as we start to get into like the later stages of summer, that's when I think we're going to start to heat up again. So this is broken up into quarters. This is Q2, right? I think Q2 is probably going to be chop, right? It's probably going to be something like this. And then Q3, like we talked about last year, we saw the front run coming in Q3. So I think that that's what's going to happen if this is Q3 right here. I think that rather than the front run coming in at the very end of the year, the way that things are playing out, what my gut is telling me is that the front run is going to come in earlier in Q3 this time around. I'm going to say closing thoughts on this little mini conversation we just had is that this is all just fucking gut feeling and balls tingling or whatever. At the end of the day, there's no edge, there's no systemization, etc. It's just experience, and I've traded for a while, and that's what my gut tells me. So I'm going to go with it. Going with my gut has worked really well for me in more modern times. That did not work for me in my early days, to be clear. So, basically right now, bulls are fighting to reclaim this value. I don't really think that that's what's going to happen. My expectation is this is going to get bonked and that you're looking to buy down here the classic 3 drives, right? Drive, drive, third drive. That's mostly what I'm looking for. If we end up trading higher, I do have plans I shared in Paragon for what it would look like if we ended up trading higher and I had to pivot to being bullish earlier. I'd really feel like I'm in a place where I don't care if I buy lower or I buy higher. It doesn't really make any difference. I'm here to make money. I don't really care about whether I'm buying lows or not. I think that from a level standpoint, 150K is probably the next logical area where you should expect after Bitcoin's done chopping it up. Maybe it makes another lower low, chops it up, and then starts to run up. This is probably the area where the next big range like this or this will occur, in my opinion. From here is where I'm more inclined to make a significant pivot away from being macro bullish on Bitcoin the way I have been for literally years now, right? Ever since the very beginning of 2023, we pivoted, and it's been a long trend. And I don't think that it's gonna. I feel like one more move is probably what's gonna be the end for everybody. There is some nuance that needs to be woven into that, so I'm not super interested in discussing all those little details, but hopefully that makes sense, right? I think you need to be, don't be just throwing the fucking sink at alts, because these things are going to be shitters for you for the most part, right? Especially since I think that Bitcoin will probably trade lower still. But yeah, but if there's any questions, hit me. But this is basically the core thesis that we're operating off of. Really quickly, we will go to the medium time frame chart, and then I'll check questions. Medium time frame chart is basically telling me same kind of thing I just depicted. Right here is very significant resistance, basically from 93 all the way down to like 88. This is a significant resistance zone. So if bulls can get through this, and we can, right now we're in that slow grind, which is this the kind of price action we love if we're bullish. If we see this slow grind continuing up here, then I'm probably going to make a change. The troublesome piece is just like, I need that like moment where I feel confident about it. There's plenty of instances where people can get caught away being bullish after price moves up only for it to fuck you, right? So I'm not trying to be one of those people that literally buys the top or whatever, right? So that's pretty much it, right? I mean, I do think that we will probably trade down. 75K is a pretty obvious level, so maybe we want to try to front run it and maybe bid a little bit above them or a little bit below them, right? One of the two, right? If everyone wants to bid here, we front run or we bid below. That's basically the TLDR of thoughts right now for higher time frame and medium time frame, right? I do think that we're going to trade a lot higher. I think that anybody that is positioning themselves for us to trade higher is probably set for pain. And then once those early positioners get washed, that's probably when I'm going to go in. All this stuff requires a lot of patience, and it's going to require some humility if I'm wrong, because if we're trading in a month at 96K or something, well, maybe I have to reevaluate. And that's kind of the beauty of my style of trading, though, is since I have all my spot, I don't really care. I'll just close out the hedge and go back to net long again. So if there's any questions about any of that stuff, now's the time to hit me. So you guys want to look at some alts. I'm going to ignore most of the alts, but we can look at a couple of them probably. After Trump announces reciprocal tariffs on 4/2, I think we start a significant move up across the board. I'm not going to get into the realm of tariffs and these different things, and I barely even pay attention to what equities are doing, right? That argument for looking at equities is pretty strong. I'm not going to sit here and try to game out whatever's going to be going on with the administration, right? I don't believe in that approach. I learned this lesson through pain. Actually, we were talking about a big round trip earlier, or round tripping in general. One of my worst round trips was on a trade where I got a really good long because of my system, right? And then I tried to turn it into I tried to hold on to it for longer because of some macro information that came out that made me bullish, right? And then I just round tripped the trade. So yeah, I'm not a macro guy. I don't care about geopolitics or anything. That's not going to help me make better decisions. That's simply what it comes down to. You could look at Altcoin because a lot of people are interested in it, I guess. I'm not super interested in it, but we'll see. Oh. How dumb. They got coin in the fucking name. Okay, so I don't buy coins that are like, I don't buy things that are in downtrends, guys. So I'm not gonna buy this, right? Basically, every time I've ever bought something in a downtrend, even like hype, right? I bought down like hype when it started to trend down and it didn't work, right? I don't buy things in downtrends. I would rather wait for this thing to be all the way up here or some shit before I was to make a plan, right? And to buy this thing. I want to see it having. I know we kind of we clowned market structure earlier, but this is clearly in a downtrend, right? I mean, if you buy right here, it might work out for you, but it's a coin flip, right? I'm not a coin flipper. This could easily be the local top, or it could be, you know, it could go higher, right? My honest thought is that I'm not super interested in anything that's in a downtrend, right? There's very, very few coins that are still in an uptrend. Something like, you know, Monero, for example, is still in an uptrend, right? So if it's not in an uptrend, I'm not going to buy it. It's as simple as that. I don't really have too much to say on ETH BTC. I don't really know why we want to talk about it. ETH BTC is, you know, I made fun of it for years, and it's not even, it's not even fun to make fun of ETH anymore. I came into this space because of ETH originally. Bought my first ETH somewhere in over here. Actually, I take that back. It would have been, this is when I started really buying up ETH in this period. Or maybe it was in 2017. I don't remember. Fuck. I know I bought my first ETH somewhere over here, but I just didn't buy enough. So the point I'm trying to make is I came into this space wanting ETH to succeed, liking ETH, etc., etc. But I had to eventually abandon ship and say fuck this coin a long time ago. So, you know, we simply don't buy things that look like this, right? There's just no point in buying something that looks like this. Looks like this. If it looked like this, it would be the best coin that ever fucking existed, and I would be telling you non-stop. Anytime this thing dips, you buy it. But it's literally the exact opposite. Like, this is like the worst coin. So I get tired of saying the same lessons, so bear with me, right? But because I don't say this stuff enough these days, but we bid strength or we don't bid at all, right? If you've been around for a long time, you've heard me say that 1 billion times now. Are you looking to position on any shorts down into the 3 drives? No, I don't really short shit that much, guys. Most of the time, like 90% of the time when I'm shorting, it's either for intraday lower time frame stuff or just hedges. I don't really do higher time frame shorts in crypto. Your 3-month prediction is related to QE? Not really, just mostly seasonality, cyclicality, favoring the trend. I think we're at a weird point where the average crypto native has just bottom of the barrel sentiment, while all the suits in crypto are just horned up, fucking bricked up, cock in their hand, ready to fuck later in the year. I think that distinction between the two groups of people is pretty evident talking with people, because I do have friends on the institutional side of things, and they're all horned up, ready to fuck. And then all the crypto native people are all just low T cucks that are, you know, have no fight left in them and want to give up and shit. So I really think that the boomers are going to come in and keep buying this shit up. Ondo, we can look at Ondo. It's been a schminute. Oof. Ondo on higher time frame has an uptrend still, so that's a positive thing, right? It's still in an uptrend, higher time frame, but yeah, I'm not super interested in this one. If I was gonna play RWA coin, I'd probably just pick on OM. Honestly, this is a better one. It's lower valuation, better structure. Since I didn't do any chart requests yesterday, I think Magus should do double today. That's crazy, brother. I'm I'm gonna jot that one down in my little death notes notepad, and I'll remember that. I will hold on to that for like 3.5 years and wait for the perfect opportunity to strike and bombard you with TISM. Just wait. Hyperliquid, since Doc didn't do chart requests. So I actually owned some hype. It was a terrible investment, to be honest. What am I supposed to say about this thing, right? You know, I'm underwater in my hype. I don't remember exactly what my average entry was, but I'm definitely down on it. I think my average is like $18 or something. I'm praying that this thing trends up again, but realistically, I'm probably going to sell this thing for a loss. You know, that's just what it comes down to. I'm not going to come on these streams and just be an optimistic opium salesman. I'm going to tell you guys how it is. And realistically, you know, it doesn't look good for hype, right? It doesn't have any more, the narrative that it had is gone. The EVM chain really kind of flopped, so we'll see. They need to cook some new shit. Another drive down lower. What are you watching to get spot long, rounded bottom? Well, I'm already spot long, right? I'm not going to buy any more Bitcoin probably. Maybe I will, now that I'm thinking about it. But primarily I'm going to be cutting my hedge and buying up a couple alts. So look, Alan, I mean, every stream we get these kind of questions, and it's always the same things, right? I'm going to pay attention to the order books. I'm going to pay attention to what takers are doing. Pay attention to lending rates, right? Basic derivative data. Pay attention to OI, right? Pay attention to VWAP structuring. Pay attention to sentiment. All these kind of things. It's always the same. Ultimately, all those points arrive to, are my balls tingling or not, you know? Do I get the vibe that I should gamble, right? I don't have any certainty in anything I ever do. It's still a gamble for me no matter what. Do you think Solana BTC is on the same path as ETH BTC? I've seen that take a few times. I mean, the chart is eerily similar, obviously. It absolutely could be on the same path. I'm gonna account for my bias here. It could be on this path. I still I don't know, it's hard. Your perceptions on things all get clouded and skewed when you make money on stuff, guys, right? So you know, my average Solana buy is like $30 or something like that probably. So it's rough for me to be very, very, you know, agnostic with all this shit. I still think Solana is a good chain, and it's clearly the best usability standpoint chain. But ETH is still a good chain, and it had no you know, value accrual for the token this cycle. I mean, ETH is still massively used, not so much by plebs, but by people with real money. You know, I would never keep a lot of my stablecoin stack on Solana, for example, right? Most of my stablecoin stack is on ETH, and it'll pretty much always be that way. So TLDR, Solana could be on the same path, but who knows? We'll need more time to kind of really materialize that kind of argument out. At this point, it's predictive. Hype is the new Tia? I definitely don't think it's going to be the new Tia. That's a bit of a dramatic statement, but we'll see. Alright, guys, I don't want to really just become a fucking shitcoin ticker searcher for you guys, TBH. But we'll look at a couple. I don't remember when I drew this, but there we go. It's a fucking dog shit coin, you know? Again, same kind of conversation. I didn't really make a lot of money off of Curve, to be honest, but when Curve came out, that was DeFi winter. Honestly, DeFi winter was my most impactful trade. I made the most money off of DeFi winter versus any trade I've ever made in my life. by far, probably. So I like all the DeFi coins. You know, we talk about Aave, we talk about Compound, any of those like OG DeFi protocols. I always like them because they were, you know, very kind to me. Sushi, Uniswap, all those things, they ran up so much in late 2020 and early 2021. But it's a bygone era. Is the past. These things are all shit nowadays, right? Curve probably is a great protocol. I don't actually know. The protocol probably works and shit. You can go and lend your money and get a, you know, interest rate or whatever, blah blah blah. Has nothing to do with the token value, right? If this team Curve is not doing some tokenomics scam or they're locking tokens, burning tokens, buying back tokens, this thing's gonna go down only, right? And that's what most coins do their whole life, is they go down only. The final thing I'll say is that this was a big meme back in the day. A lot of you guys weren't really around here back then, but the Curve guy in particular, I mean, this guy did some wild scam shit to extract wealth from the space. A lot of these guys built these protocols and then didn't have the value extraction stuff pre-planned, so they went to value extract after the fact. And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but isn't Curve the protocol that had the guy that made this protocol had the toxic loans where he had to borrow money from other people to repay his loans on his own protocol? And then he took all that money out to buy houses in the first place. He took the money out, bought houses, and then couldn't repay his loan on Curve. This is so long ago. This is the Curve Wars back in the day. I'm not a fundamental guy, so I don't really give a shit. But there you go. These protocols are value extractive in their nature, right? Even though it's a usable product, anybody that's behind the scenes with this shit, their intention is to make money. And honestly, if their intention wasn't to make money and they're like just trying to be a good person, then they're probably retarded, right? This is not a good person world we live in, sadly. I want to be a good person, but every day I'm reminded that nice guys finish last. You eyeing any memes for your Q3 move up prediction? Not really, brother. It's too early to tell. These are the days when you want to be looking for outliers and strength and anything that looks interesting or anything that has some, you know, maybe something that has an actual like base of people behind it or something. You're in the hunter stage right now, and I'm frankly lazy with hunting alts because I don't need to anymore. I don't need alts to make money anymore. I'll be fine with just Bitcoin. I'm still gonna trade alts, but for me also, things are easier. A lot of times the good alts get brought to me. I don't need to be the nerd that goes and hunts for the alts. Somebody will say the alt to me in one of my chats at some point, and I'll catch it that way. Just being maximum honest right now. Avalanche, yeah, we'll look at Avalanche. Again, I'm almost certainly about to bully the ever-living piss out of this thing. It's hard for me to imagine Avalanche has any sort of positive structuring. I mean, yeah, this is a pisser as well, right? Even you look at this. This is a direct competitor to Solana. Look at how much better Solana performed this cycle. Like, Solana absolutely fucked on this thing. So, there you go. You look at Monero. I just did a second ago. I basically just said it's a good-looking coin. I guess the privacy narrative really emerged, right? The trend has started much later this cycle than some of the other coins, right? It didn't really trend in 2023, but this is starting to look decent. You know, on higher time frame, it doesn't look as good, but when you look at this on like medium-ish time frame, like price structuring, this is disgusting. I get it, right? This is low liquidity dog shit moves, but this is an uptrend. Reminds me a lot of this. Right? Sometimes these things that move like absolute dog shit are just manipulated things that just go up only, right? So maybe keep an eye on some stuff that looks like that. You need to have wider risk parameters because on something like this, if you have hard stops in the book, you're going to get stopped on this. So that's a major thing you need to account for, not getting stopped out. Probably want to trade these things on spot. Magus, you think newer coins that launch once Bitcoin is trending up would end up outperforming older coins with decent charts? How do you play new launch coins? Okay, yes, it is out of the small basket. This is our little basket. Out of the basket of a couple of altcoins that will do well, right? When Bitcoin goes up. this many of them will be new, and this many of them will probably be old, right? That's roughly what that split should look like, where there's only going to be a couple of old winners, and most of the winners will be new. That's almost always the case. Come back to your question. So yes, new coins are more likely to outperform. How do you play new launches? It depends on what my and what my goals are. It's very, very rare that I'm going to play a new launch with the expectation of I'm going to buy this and swing trade it up 10,000x or whatever, right? Most of the time, I wait for the new charts to print their charts out and wait for the fundamental arguments to kind of come together and let my nerd friends tell me it's a good coin. And then I participate in it. So I'm almost never going to be early. I don't think you want to be early to new things with the intention of holding them long term. Too much fuckery happens in the early parts. The main use case for trading new coins early is going to be to scalp them. How many face ice baths do we need to be a profitable trader? Well, you basically, the opposite actually. We need a bowl of fucking molten magma that you stick your face in instead. Who's making that? Who's building this? Make crime private again. Holy shit. It's a banger, Mr. Smith. Make crime private again. I fuck with that statement on a deep level. It's crazy to me that all of the bad stuff that is just so public now. Your average person on CT actually understands how bad all the KOL shit is nowadays, when in previous cycles they never understood. Now you see a guy shilling a coin and you look at the comments and it's just all people calling him a paid shill. Where back in the day they didn't understand that game that was getting played. So yeah, I would love for all the crime. The crime's never going to go away, but for the crime to just get swept underneath the baseboards again, that'd be nice, to be honest. At least we could pretend things are good. That's what we need, though. We really need to be able to pretend that things are good, guys. In my first several years of crypto, there were scams, but we always believed that, you know, it's a real thing at the end of the day and that it will do well and be good, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that the average person necessarily thinks that beyond Bitcoin anymore. And the average person thinks that Bitcoin is unattainable, being 87K. Think S is being manipulated? Sonic? What makes you say that? I don't see any reason to think this is being manipulated, brother. Feels like a regular coin to me. It's all manipulated. To an extent, guys. This is not a chart you should look at and think this is a scam, right? A coin you should look at and think that's a scam is this one. This is a scam coin. This is a manipulated scam coin, guys. There's levels to this, right? If you come into this and cry that everything's manipulated, Twinkle, I'm just keeping 100 with you, right? It's gonna hurt you. Just accept it is what it is and don't care, in my opinion. Would love to take a look at grass. All right, we'll do a last couple second tickers, and then we're going to be done with the stream here pretty shortly. There you go. That's crazy how good that doodle is. So I haven't looked at this chart in many, many months. I know that Doc did really well with this, and I know that a couple other people did. I ignored this chart day one for whatever reason. Like, I remember Doc was trading this a lot over here, and everyone asked me about grass, and I was just like, I don't care. I'm not looking at grass. So I ignored grass for a long time. I doodled this out, though. Look how fucking accurate this doodle is. Down, up. It either is going to reclaim and be strong again, or it's going to get bonked here and trend down. And I got this part of the wave wrong, but that's pretty fucking spot on, guys. I don't LARP as a wizard for no reason. Where do you think the S&P is going? Probably like this. Maybe like that. Or like this. It's probably not just going to V back up, but the trend isn't. I do think that the trend will continue. This is a little concerning. This is pretty significant momentum loss over the past several months. That is real, but we're getting that reset. So if bulls on the S&P like reclaim and start to grind it back up again, I would definitely not bet on this trend being over, right? I mean, betting against the trend on equities is retarded, right? I mean, it is. Somebody's going to get it right one day, and then they're going to be the next Michael Burry or whatever. But, you know, honestly, that guy's going to die poor, right? Like, it's just better to be the retard that just goes long only on these things, right? That's why somebody asked me earlier if you had $20 million. I said I'd put $10 to $15 million in these things and just let them chill, honestly. Just never sell them, so you never have to pay taxes. You just steadily fucking accrue wealth that way. Follow for more alpha secrets. So yeah, TLDR, brother. It's not like I'm a S&P expert. I would definitely bet on it trending higher from here still, and expect some chop in the short term. You think sell the mango away is relevant this year? It's been relevant every year, except this is probably the least relevant year for it because we broke the trend this year. So I would say this year is the least likely sell the may go away we've seen yet, but it still could materialize. I'm just saying don't worry about it. Just trade majors if concerned. Yeah, we're on the same page, bro. It's hard to see everybody's intent when we're writing like 5 words in the chat box. I don't necessarily see the nuance, you know, or point of views. Can you do Pepe? Doc told me to request. Pepe's cooked, brother. I think what Doc said was Pepe cemented itself as a top meme, and it probably did. But all memes are, you know, decimated, so. I probably will go right back. I probably will buy back things like Doge and Pepe and maybe Bonk or whatever. Some of the top larger memes when I want to go risk on again, I probably will allocate to those. And people will cry and say that alts will never go up again. Honestly, people clowned me for buying Doge when I originally did. I legitimately had people on my streams back here telling me that Doge was a retarded buy. Why would you buy Doge? It's not going to go up the most. And then it literally did this. I honestly, full disclosure, guys, I did get lucky with my Doge trade. I pretty much always bet on Doge when I want to go risk on. That's the honesty part. And then I got lucky that the whole Elon narrative took over literally 2 days after I bought my Doge, maybe 3 days. That's when the Doge announcement from the government came out. So I just got, like, you know, gifted a fucking trade, which I took basically the same exact trade on Pepe and other shit as well. All right, guys, so we're going to be ending the stream in the next couple of minutes. Just warning, 2-minute warning. IP looks clean. How would you trade it? IP's definitely at the top of my list for a reason. It's holding up. There's long continuation plays, brother. Buy pullbacks into VWAPs, right? Especially if you can find points where there's actual position unwinds on that selling, then you buy it. This is a very, very risky thing to trade, but it is probably one of your... Something like this is probably one of your best assets to trade right now. It's just higher risk, so account for that. Can you please give a quick TLDR on the difference between swing, scalp, intraday? Trying to learn intraday, but I think I'm learning scalping. Yeah, so... People's definitions for these things, there is discretion, right? I mean, it's kind of a tomato, you know, a preference or whatever. So how I define scalping will be different than some other people's. I think that you want to just have a distinction too between equities and crypto. So scalping is the lowest time frame, right? That's going to be trading for micro moves. Some scalpers don't even look at charts and they just trade DOMs, right? Your trade duration for a scalper is in seconds. For equities. For crypto, your trade duration for scalping is going to be in minutes. The reason for that is that if you scalp equities, you can trade off of a lot smaller moves and the fees and stuff won't be as big of an issue. You need a larger move in crypto to capitalize on for it to work because the fees are going to fuck you, right? The fees in crypto are so much higher than equities. So TLDR, scalping is going to be anything from seconds to minutes. Intraday is going to be anything from maybe like 30 minutes to an hour up to maybe like 4 or 5 hours. And then swing is going to be anything beyond that. I think that there's one more category that needs to be put in, which is positional. So swing is, I'm going to buy this spot and sit in it for 3 months, or I'm going to buy this future and sit in it for a month and a half, right? It's a swing trade. Positional trade is more like a portfolio manager where you have spot and you just kind of manage it. Maybe you do things where you shave a little off, you add a little bit to it, you hedge it here and there. Positional management is like the highest time frame version of trading. It does blend together with investing a little bit, but I think being an investor is a retarded mindset. You want to be a value extractor as a trader. So if you're trading for seconds or a couple of minutes, then you're scalping. Intraday takes a lot. Intraday, there's a better way I can explain this on a chart like this, right? Trading any of these kind of moves you see on the chart, trading this move, this move, those are all intraday moves, right? They're going to take anywhere from, at the least, they're going to take like 10 minutes, and they're probably going to take hours to trade these kind of moves, right? Scalping is you're literally trading one of these candles as a scalp, right? That's a good way for me to explain the difference between the two. People will talk about scalps on Twitter and stuff, and it'll be a fucking swing trade that they hold for 3 days. So people's definitions on Twitter are pretty terrible, honestly. Can you explain why funding rates go deeply negative during a pump? No new positions based on the open interest. So earlier when we were talking about the TRB DWF scam, that was the first time where I really saw that super prevalent. So it's a manipulation tactic. They acquire a bunch of the supply, either by buying it or by getting a deal. Most likely it's a market maker deal. That's how all the deals work, right? If I built a coin and I need people to market make it for me, I'm going to make a deal with the market makers where I'm going to give them tokens at a discounted rate so that they can market make the supply side, right? You have to have a deal with them so they can have supply, otherwise they can't market make. So essentially what happened is you get these instances where these organizations or funds are given a lot of supply to the point where they basically control the entirety supply of the coin in some instances, especially if they buy up extras. So if I am DWF and I own 75% of the spot supply, I can just go and make a mispricing between the perp and the spot so that funding is negative. Basically what that would be is I would make it so that the spot price is always ahead of perps. Now we can have a price that's trending up, a coin that's trending up, but because perps are ahead or below spot every day, that means that funding's negative. So everybody that's long is getting paid. That's probably what's happening most of the time when you guys see those things. Liquid coins should not trend up on negative funding. It should be only low liquidity, scam manipulated coins that should be able to do that. Thanks for the stream. No problem. What time frames are your view ops set to? I use all of them, bro. I use monthly, weekly, daily, quarterly, yearly. I use rolling. I use anchor. I use them all. No problem, Jail. What up, Nikki? Sorry, side checks. I don't wanna look at ENA right now. I gotta end the stream here. Otherwise, I'm gonna end up yapping for an eternity. Do you look at BTC when trading alts? 100%. Said this for years now. If I'm scalping a high tick alt, then maybe I don't care. But anything else, I'm always gonna frame my Bitcoin trades around what altcoin, or always gonna frame my altcoin trades around what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin's bullish, I'm bullish, right? Or vice versa. Bitcoin's stuck in a range. That requires more nuance. So I'm not gonna give that spice away, to be honest. All right, my friends. So I caught up with chat today. I'm not gonna look at any more tickers. Hopefully you guys learned something today or got a good laugh at the very least, but that's going to do it for me. Thanks to Woo for sponsoring the stream. Big shout out to them. And yeah, that's it for me, guys. So good luck out there, and I'll see you soon.